Hello everyone, welcome to the family work. I have asked Lincoln if I could do a couple videos as our family PSA, our public service announcements. There is nothing more I hate than being lied to, cheated, and scammed. And I very rarely get upset. It's hard for me to lose my temper. But when somebody has zero integrity, whether it be a business or a person, um, that just rubs me the wrong way, and that's why it's hard for me to watch movies like The Equalizer or Peppermint, because the inner me wants to be a vigilante and get justice for other people that have been wronged. So this video is how I'm going to express my frustration. There's actually, I think, one or two more videos I'm going to do on this, because just in the last 6 months we have two situations we went through that have cost us about $40,000. And that's hard. It's hard for anybody, but it's hard for us too because you know we just don't have piles of money laying around for sure. And we try to be wise with our money, and sometimes we take risk with how we spend it. But with both of these situations, we would have never made a decision if people had been honest with us. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is our scam that we got through. If you've ever seen this before, a place called Auction Time, auctiontime.com. If you ever go to Tractor Supply, I'm sure a lot of other stores, they have these right there by the door, Tractor House. There's a whole, this is all Sands Hills Publishing, and they do, I think there's like 10 different brands they have. Controller for airplanes, Machinery Trader, Truck Paper, Rental Yard, Crane Trader, Machinery Trader. They got that listed twice, I'm not sure why. But anyways, they are an advertising company, so it's a glorified classifieds. However, Auction Time, and I've bought stuff from auction before, probably just since we own this campground, over $100,000 of equipment and products that we've bought. Never, ever had a problem with buying from auction. Now, there's times that when you buy something from auction, it's not necessarily what you thought it was, the condition of it or the operational condition of it, but that's the risk you take. If you're buying something used, you're going to getting at a discount because you're taking the risk that something's wrong with it. If you're buying an auction, especially sight unseen, you're taking a bigger risk, but you're usually getting a bigger discount on it for that risk. And when I buy kitchen equipment sometimes at auctions, I'll buy a couple different things from one auction. Some of it won't even be usable in a scrap, but you weigh that out with the other things that you bought that worked just like new, and you got a great deal on it. So it all evens out, and I hope at the end of the day you don't feel like you're taken advantage of. And I understand that's the risk of buying auctions. However, if somebody says, I'm listing a XYZ, and you show up and it's ABC, well, that's completely different. So if you ever buy from auction, obviously if you have the chance, go see it in person, test it if it's a piece of equipment. But a lot of these auctions, whether it be Auction Time or Ritchie Brothers, Gov Deals, whatever it is, especially if it's far away or out of state and it's only a couple $100 item, you're not really going to drive over there just to, if they even let you plug it in or turn it on. You're just going to take them for their word that this is what it is. So I bought from Auction Time for the first time and last time ever a couple weeks ago. And I had already been signed up because I've been looking for this for a while ago, and I know if you watch this other video, I say I don't buy used equipment anymore because of this reason. But I've been looking for a toolcat ever since I demoed one last year. I knew it's not something I needed for here at the campground, but it's something I really would have liked to have. So our needs, our excavator and our track steer, we bought those brand new, have the warranty, have a great relationship with our Bobcat dealer. With the toolcat, I didn't want to spend 60 grand on a brand new one because I didn't necessarily need it. It didn't have to be working all the time. So I'd been looking for a used one, and I had a year time frame and an hour's time frame on the machine that I was looking at. and price range that I was looking for. And then I finally found one that met all those requirements for me. It was a 2011, and it had 2946 hours on it. So I bought that through Auction Time, and before I bought it, I looked through the bidder user terms and the seller user terms. And if you look right here, it says under seller user terms number 2, letter B, you agree to fully, completely, and accurately disclose all information relating to your listed items, including brand name or other indication of origin or manufacturer, and you shall be responsible for any such inaccuracies, errors, or omissions. Okay, so it's pretty boilerplate. I mean, my expectation from buying anything at auction would be that you can't necessarily guarantee the condition of it. You know, stuff you may not realize is broken until somebody's operating it, because a lot of these people are just buying and selling it. They're not actually using it. So I get that. But when you say it's a 2011 Bobcat and you show a picture and this is how many hours on it, I expect to get a 2011 Bobcat. Well, I went ahead. This is a guy, Lift and Load LLC, and he has other stuff listed right now in Auction Time, and he's got stuff on Facebook Marketplace too. He's out of Chesterfield, Virginia. So if you're looking at buying a piece of equipment and you see it from Lift and Load LLC, Chesterfield, Virginia, pay close attention. I was in communication with the guy after I bought it. He put in his terms that he wanted the money wired to him, which I had no problem with. That's how I have to pay on other auctions. I had no problem doing that ahead of time. He helped me make arrangements for shipping, had it shipped to me, and he took pictures as it was leaving just to show me that, hey, it's loaded and ready to go, and that's the last I ever heard from him. Once it arrived, I backed it off the trailer and the tie rod fell off, which, sure, something may have happened in shipping of it. But again, you buy stuff used, and that's the risk you take. Then I was kind of checking it out. I lifted up the back dump bed on it, and half of the muffler was completely missing. It was actually, or is, burning, melting a hole into the rear fender. So that's my fault. You know, there was like 40 pictures, but none of that. And I noticed there was some body damage on it in the pictures and everything, which I expected. So those two things, you know, even though it was $1,000 in parts now, just for those two things, you know, it is what it is, and there's nothing I can do about that. However, the keychain that was with it had the make and model, VIN number, and hours and all that on there, and I looked at it and it said 2009. And I'm like, I wonder, you know, if this just, because all Bobcat keys are the same, and if this just came from somewhere else. And so I go to the front, and right on the very front is the serial number plate, which I didn't think of at the time, but there was no picture of it. And sure enough, right there it said 2009. And I'm like, well, that sucks. I mean, it's 2 years difference. There wasn't too much difference between the 2 years. But then the hours, instead of 2,900, it had 3,500 written down on it. So I go in and turn the machine on, and sure enough, 2946 on the jaw meter popped up. I hit the button to flip over to the true hours meter, and there was 500 more hours on it. So, I mean, if you bought a 2011 a Honda Accord with 75,000 miles on it, and you get delivered a 2009 with 150,000 miles on it, that's how frustrated I was. I was willing. I had a couple options to work out with the guy. I was disappointed, and I thought it could have just been an innocent mistake. You know, the guy probably just, for whatever reason, typed in 2011 and maybe didn't know how to move the jaw meter to the hours meter. I don't know. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, as I always try to do with people, and he wouldn't respond to my texts. He wouldn't return my calls, and I wasn't even in my voicemails and texts. I didn't say anything about it. I was just trying to reach out, say, hey, I got a question. Give me a call, and he never did. So he said it's a 2011 Toolcat with had a picture on there, 2946 on the hours, and says working heat and air conditioning, great running, everything works good, used several times on site without difficulty, engine starts right up. So great running, everything works good. No, not at all. So I reached out to Auction Time. I called them and I said, hey, this guy sold me something, but it's the wrong year and it's the wrong hours. And they said, oh, okay, well, yeah, that happens from time to time. We'll take your information and we'll pass it on to his sales rep. I go, okay. And I go, and then what? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, so what happens after that? And they said, well, nothing happens. We just notate the file. And they said, we don't inspect these. We don't get involved. We just match sellers with buyers. And I said, well, I understand that. I'm not expecting you to mediate this necessarily or resolve it for us. But this guy listed something through your site that was inaccurate, and he's not returning my calls. So, I mean, are you just going to let him keep selling stuff? And to which they were essentially said, yeah, they would, that they have no control over it. So that was pretty frustrating. So I start looking for other contact information on this guy. I start doing a little background on him. And the very first thing, when you put in Lift and Load LLC, you see a Better Business Bureau, and right away there's 3 other complaints on him. One, just like 3 weeks prior in January, he did very similar thing to somebody else, sold a piece of equipment. The person bought it on auction, so I'm assuming Auction Time. It was his first time purchasing it. And he probably got it worse than me because the engine he said, had a hole in it that he could put his fist through. So I started to think maybe there's a pattern here. So I started looking into my options, like what can I do with this guy? I don't really want to pursue this civilly. I mean, I feel like he was fraudulent in his advertising of it. He was fraudulent in his representation of it. So a few people that I got counsel from said you need to do a police report just to have a paper trail. And I'm glad I did, because they knew the guy's name right away, and there was another police report. He did this to a guy who bought something at auction from Texas, had it shipped. It was the wrong year, wrong hours, and I guess I discovered this guy's MO is if he tweaks stuff just enough to kind of increase the perceived value by having a newer machine with less hours on it, he can get higher bids on it. And then I guess he figures, he puts in there, hey, you're buying it as is, you're responsible for it. So I guess he thinks he gets away with that if, he continues to misrepresent stuff. It works out better for him and there's nothing you can do. So yeah, I do believe I could go after him civilly. I have more important things to do with my time and my money. But this video is to protect you. So if you are looking at Auction Time, and if you can't physically go test out the equipment and use it, my advice to you, unless you know who the dealer is or who the company is, don't do it, because you're just rolling the dice for sure. I am half tempted to take when I bought my Bobcats, they give you a little toy model of your piece of equipment. And I asked the Auction Time, I said, well, what's to prevent me from taking a picture of my $60,000 machine sitting outside and then shipping somebody the little toy? And they're like, well, there's nothing. You could do it. Now, they may go after you for that. I'm like, well, sure, yeah, they could. But I'm like, why don't you try to make any effort to get rid of this guy that's abusing your site, that's doing this with people? Because here's the thing. At some point, if he continues down this road, he's going to piss off the wrong person, and it's not going to end out well for him. And he's a young guy. He's got little kids and a family, but completely dishonest. So Lift and Load LLC, Chesterfield, Virginia, Auction Time, scam alert. Stay away. Not worth it. Not worth your time. Not worth the risk. In my opinion. That is my experience. Cost me $20,000 for $12,000 piece of equipment, maybe. Once we get the repairs done, we haven't tested out the hydraulics yet, so we'll see once the snow melts if that works. Could be a money pit. That's the risk you take. But at least I would have appreciated a money pit with less hours on the engine that I was expecting. So hopefully you'll be able to avoid the problems we've had with AuctionTime.com. I would stay away. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to subscribe and have a great day.